Hey, Restless Wrappers, we're here on our 3-year anniversary show. So join us. Tracy has some novel, and I say this in quotes, novel ideas about Kane. Lola and Kyle are moving in together. And Adam, yes, he is back, and he is discovering things that he does not want to know about. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Goodman here for our 3-year anniversary show. Joining me is Farah.
Hi guys, this is Farah, not Sharon. So excited to be here on our 3-year anniversary of AfterBuzz TV's coverage of Yenara. That's awesome.
So for everybody who's been watching, it has been, I've been on the show about 2 years. We had James Lott here before that. He actually created the show with Lucretia, so you guys might, still see her around. You would have seen James just now. He was on the other soap. Edition days. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started. Before we do, I want to give a shout out to the people we have in the chat and read everybody's comments from last show. We have Michelle Rubo here, we have Demo, we have Matthew Kennedy, Scott Holtzen, Hubby Joe. Jean is here. Klex Ambers, aka Tiffany. We have, I want to make sure I hit everybody. We've got a ton of people in here. Nakisha Jones, Rainy J, Simone Francois, Alyssa Brown Carlton. That's everybody. Thank you guys for always tuning in and joining. I was watching some of your comments. The big thing I asked at the start of the show in the chat was who you thought shot Adam, and a lot of people, some people think it might be Chloe, some people Kevin. I have my own theories. We will get to them in a second, as I'm sure Farah, you have your own theories too. And then from last week's show, we have Cynthia Chain, who says, "Great show this week, ladies. I was thinking that Adam saving that picture of Christian is a dead giveaway that he remembers. Poor little Christian. His life has been chaotic with Sharon and Kelsey as his moms. Dylan was his dad for a while. Nick has been his dad the longest. He'll be so confused. Kane's son Sam, we don't even hear him crying in the other room anymore. What are they going to do with the storyline so he cannot be with Tracy?" Hubby Joe says there was a lot of energy this week in the chat and with the hosts. Great job, everybody. And then we have Malcolm Alderley, who says, "New Adam looks like an anorexic pirate. Shiver me timbers. This storyline is crap," and probably about 10 exclamation points. So thank you. That was a very animated thought on Adam.
Hold back.
Yeah, I now that we've seen him, okay, so that's my, aside from who shot Adam, my first question, you know what, I'm going to put this down before I keep using it.
But we're so proud.
Yeah, I know. My first question to you is, what are your thoughts on Mark Grossman as Adam?
You know, before I saw him, I thought 31, too young.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. But now I see him mixing in with his fellow castmates. I don't mind him on there. I think he's really good looking.
I don't mind. He seems like he's a really good actor, and I can see him being Adam. But at the same time, to me, he does look very young. I'm okay with it. It's not like it's so young that I'm thinking, okay, get this kid out of this role.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like that. He does still look like a man. But especially when we saw the scenes of him next to Nick, I'm thinking,
he does look a lot
this doesn't
younger.
seem like it. Yeah, because Nick, like, you can tell Nick is, no offense to Nick, but...
I mean, he's pushing 50.
Yeah. It just you can
Yeah.
tell that there is a huge difference there, and not that anybody looks old. That is not what I'm trying to say, but you can just see it when one actor is significantly younger than another actor, and
I agree.
to me, it's like, okay, and it isn't even just the way that he looks; it's also just his no matter how he acts. It's his mature. It's like his mentality that he's bringing, and I can just feel that he's a certain age range.
You can feel his youth.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't look too into that, but now that we're examining it, I can see it. Especially if they start up the love storyline between him and Sharon again.
Which is interesting.
He's basically the same age as her son on the show.
He could.
That is a little awkward.
I could see Noah and him being the same age. They probably are,
They definitely are.
Considering Adam is Mark Grossman is our age.
Yeah.
Noah's playing a guy in his late 20s. It isn't that far off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I didn't think I think that Sharon just looks so young that it didn't bother me to see them and potentially have them paired together.
That's true. She does look great.
Yeah.
She still looks
She and if you even going back about 10 years and watching what she was, watching her in earlier episodes, she doesn't look like she's aged.
Hasn't aged too much. No.
Yeah. So that isn't where I noticed it. And their chemistry.
Their chemistry's there.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you how do you feel about Sharon and Adam?
So within the storyline?
Yeah. And potentially in the storyline, but not only that, the idea that maybe they'll get together. How do you feel about that possibly happening?
I mean, I think it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a question of when it's going to happen.
Yeah. Because as we see, basically, we had this whole entire week had so much to do with Adam, but we started off really focusing on Sharon's ability to convince him to come back to Genoa City. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of go back and forth. And one of the things I really enjoyed about this version of Adam is that he is not as far as we know, he is not the manipulative, I don't want to say monster. We'll say he's not the skillful manipulator that we remember from before. So far, this whole entire thing could be a manipulation, but as far as we can see, it's pretty much that he feels really guilty for all these things that he's finding out about the real Adam.
Yeah, it's coming across as he's actually really not happy with who he used to be.
Yeah.
He's surprised with these ridiculous actions of AKA the old Adam.
Yeah.
And he's not proud to kind of come back with that legacy.
Yeah.
So although there are those text messages that he's been sending.
So, and they could we saw Nick and Victoria kind of talking about this too. Not the text messages, but the idea that he's manipulating the situation and that deep down he's up to something. They know that Victor's up to something and that he wants Adam there for a reason. But with Adam, they're thinking, okay, well maybe he wanted to stay away. But there are really good arguments to both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we're just pretending for a moment that Adam really is what he's saying he is and doesn't remember, those texts about saying things are going smoothly, maybe as a separate thing, even though it's not good, maybe he is trying to kind of work Victor, especially as it relates to his poker game. And maybe, he has all that money. What do you think that's for?
Money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, who carries that much money around with them?
Even if you, even as Spider, some guy who's always winning, who's at the top, who's a skilled gambler, even that person, you would think that you wouldn't just have the cash. What's he planning on using it for?
I don't know. I mean, can we get this guy a bank account?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, investments or just
let's figure it out.
Make yourself look like you're legit, make it look legal in some manner. Yeah. But we don't know what the money's about. You wouldn't just carry it with you unless you were paying somebody off. And the fact that we know this all leads to him getting shot makes me think that it has to do with the money and that we obviously don't know what he's up to. So I'm thinking that, and you had a theory about who shot him too.
I initially had a theory, but now that you bring that clever point up.
Well, what was your theory, first of all?
So I initially thought it could be Chloe because they were bringing up Delia's photos.
Yeah.
And they were talking so much about the character who he killed, the child. So it would make sense that the mother would come back, find out that he's alive, and want to basically kill him.
Yeah.
But now that you're bringing up the money, I think maybe it might have to do with some kind of gambling situation. And
when I was looking this up online too, some people suggested that Adam set it up so that it wasn't anybody. Because I'm almost thinking it might be Chelsea because we know she's coming back.
Okay.
If it isn't Chelsea and if it isn't Chloe, which is also a valid point, and that would be the obvious person who did it. Even though I don't know because the last time we saw her, she was so scared of Victor that I don't know that she'd ever come back. But you never know. People on soaps, people change. Their reasoning changes all the time. So it definitely could be Chloe. But if it isn't Chloe and it's not actually somebody who meant to do this without, if it's not some random person or if it's not some person who has something out against Adam, the theory I was reading is that Adam paid somebody to do it to make it look like, to basically make himself look like a victim in Victor's eyes. I don't know,
I feel like he already looks like a victim in Victor's eyes. So I don't think that he would need to make it even worse than it already is.
Yeah, and if he was going to do that, he'd probably have somebody shoot him in public.
Right, so that there would be witnesses.
Yeah, but you don't know with him. Like, there's just such a complex background that I still am not 100% convinced that he's telling the truth.
Right.
Part of me thinks that he remembers everything, that he is a very skilled actor. It was kind of heartbreaking, though, when he saw Christian. And
there was no connection,
there
right?
was no, I didn't feel it.
Nothing.
I didn't feel it at all. First of all, not that this Adam, the way that this guy is playing it, I don't strike him as a man who actually wants children or like really feels a bond with a child, even if it is his child.
I think he's just so confused in life right now that the last thing he can think of is taking care of another human being other than himself, because he's just so out of the loop with reality.
Yeah. And
so that's the last thing on his mind.
And that could be why he's still talking to his buddies back in Las Vegas, because he's very confused and he doesn't trust these people, and that maybe this new Adam is a good person and he's not manipulating or lying to anybody, but he's just so confused that he only trusts what he knows, and what he knows is where he's been for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Not these new people saying they're his family, and he doesn't feel... The only one that he really seems to connect with is Sharon.
Yes, I did notice that. He doesn't have any connections with his sister or his brother.
No.
Although they're really not making an effort to get close to him either.
And then Billy definitely didn't help by bringing up Delia that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we know who that woman was in Vegas yet?
No, we just know that she works for him. And he did mention her to Sharon, but he really only mentioned her in the beginning when they were talking about his backstory. And so, like, for anybody who hasn't caught up yet, basically what Adam said is that he doesn't even remember the explosion. He just woke up in a freight train with these guys who were gambling, and he somehow knew how to gamble, and that's how he made his way back. And eventually he just he climbed the ladder and ended up meeting that woman, and they started working together, and he made a name for himself as a gambler. Which is a really convenient story. So that's another thing that is one of the things making me think, okay, no, this isn't it, because it doesn't seem...
There's definitely more to the story. Whether or not he remembers his past, there's more to new Adam that we just don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah, either that or he's just... So it's either that he's a really good actor, or there's obviously something more. Either way, even if he is telling the truth and doesn't know who he is, something else is going on. They've hinted at it the whole week. There's enough suspicion from everybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's such a puzzle piece.
Yeah, and then what does Victor want? That's the other part of the puzzle.
What does Victor want? Does he just want a relationship with his son?
That can't be it. That's not Victor. Yeah.
Yeah, he always has some underlying reason.
Yeah, there definitely is, and I don't think it's... I get the feeling that Victor wanted him back for a reason that isn't the greatest, and that it really isn't about having his son, who... Every time I hear son and Victor in my head, I think of the time that Nick and Victor, one of the many times they were fighting, and this particular time, Victor said, "You are not my son, son."
That's a lol moment.
Yeah, it is. That is like the eternal lol moment, because
you are not my son.
You are not my son, son. So now when my husband and I watch this, anytime Victor says son or like is talking to Nick, we think of that and we just start saying it. You are not my son. Oh, Victor. I'm going to check in with the chat. Okay. We've got a lot of people with some comments here. I agree. Maxwell Comics, I agree Adam and Chelsea are working together. Aaron Brody, Chelsea doesn't know that Adam is alive yet. Yeah, even though we see that she's been texting Nick for a while. That's the first time they've mentioned it to us.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have Simone Francois. I almost felt bad for Abby. About the fact that Victor didn't tell her at first. But Victor did not tell Nick and Vicky either. Victor has always played chess with his kids, especially Abby. Poor Abby. Aaron Brody, Abby's face when she saw Adam, priceless.
Priceless.
Hubby Joe, fun fact, Adam was born in 1995, but by 2008 was reintroduced as a full-grown adult, played by Chris Engen. But after just 1 year in the role, he stepped down and was recast with Michael Mooney. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Michelle Rubo with, here we go. I was in response to something else, so I'll skip that for now. And then Hubby Joe is just adding a little bit more here. In January of 2014, Mooney made his last appearance, disappeared until November, returned with Justin Hartley, stepping into the role. We all know Justin Hartley, who ended up going into This Is Us, and said goodbye to Wyatt.
It's like, peace.
Yeah. So then that's what we have. So that is a great place for us to make our special announcement where we say thank you to all of our fans.
Yes, we just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. We love that you support what we do, but we need more help. So if you are on YouTube, please click like and comment. And if you're on iTunes, please give us 5 stars. Thank you again for always supporting us.
Thank you guys. And we will read anyone who subscribes. I will give you a shout out. We'll give you a shout out live on the air. So definitely do that. Give us 2 thumbs up and we will give you a shout out. I think that we've pretty much said everything that there is to say about Adam. Did you have any last thoughts before we get into the other topics for this week?
The only thing I have to say is that he definitely saw who shot him.
Yeah.
So if he does survive, well, he's definitely going to survive.
Yeah. That would be hilarious, wouldn't
I know,
it?
right?
I mean, it wouldn't be hilarious, but it's like, hey, he's back. Oh, he's dead.
And he's dead again.
This time we saw him.
This time there's a body.
This time he comes back as a zombie.
Right. So when he does make it out, he should be able to tell us who it was that shot him.
Yeah. I just hope that they don't do that thing where he's in a coma for a month. They've done that too much recently with, Victor, and Nikki was in a coma this year, and then we had Lola in a coma. Just, let the poor guy wake up. He just arrived.
He just came back to YNR. Can we have a few episodes with him before he goes dying again, please?
Seriously. Just let us figure out if he's scamming us or not and what's going on with Vegas and everything before he, just kind of, goes again. I just want to touch a little bit too on Vicky and Billy. And because this kind of, as we had everything with Adam, kind of like the subplot here was everything going on with them, and how I love how Billy was there for her this whole week.
Yeah, it was nice. But so he proposed to her, right?
Again, yeah. And she sort of said, well, first she was like, no.
Yeah. But then she eased into it. She's like, well, let's see.
Yeah. He's been, not that I mind because I like them together, but Billy's been very pushy about marrying her.
Yeah, but he was also very pushy about marrying Phyllis, too, wasn't he?
He was, but then suddenly he was done because, suddenly when he knew she wouldn't have him, he was like, okay, fine, whatever, I give up. But he's been very pushy, like, with Victoria, considering everything with JT.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and we didn't get much closure on that.
What happened with JT?
We saw him in the hospital, and then they took him away, and that was it.
Oh, to, like, the psychiatric ward?
I think they took him to jail, and they were going to put him in, like, the hospital wing of the jail.
Oh.
And so we don't know if he went to trial, what they determined with him, because he had that brain injury, or not the brain injury, he had, like, a tumor that they removed, and they were saying that the tumor is what caused him to react that way. Not just react, but act. And so we don't know. My biggest problem, though, is that they did a really nice job of showing the abuse and what it's like to be in an emotionally abusive relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Until it was over, until the whole thing escalated to nearly killing him.
Right.
And then suddenly it was all about, oh, we need to hide this, we need to do this, and that storyline dragged.
Yeah.
And what suffered, in my opinion, was the fact that they didn't talk about what happens next and how somebody who's a victim of that processes.
I think that's definitely important to highlight, especially on a show like this.
Yeah. And because they reach so many people during the day.
Absolutely.
And it could help so many people. It's not enough, in my opinion, just to show what happens in the relationship. It's more important to show how people should be treating you after the fact, and what they could have done with Billy. Even now, like, it hasn't been long enough for this to not happen.
Yeah.
They could have showed him just treating her, like actually like helping her get through this and process.
I'm actually surprised they cut that storyline so abruptly.
Yeah, and we don't really see her going to the therapist anymore, and it could be because they changed writers and that's when the switch happened, but they still should have like showed us, hey, this is what it's like to deal with this. They should have done a better job.
The transition was not done well.
Yeah. So I still have a problem with that.
No, so do I.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah. But I like them together. I just wish that he wasn't so pushy about marriage and that he was more about helping her. Yeah. And not just helping her, but growing
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's so crazy? These relationships, it's like they jump from relationship to relationship, and then they want to get married within like weeks of dating.
And then divorced.
Yeah. It's like, can we get to know each other a little?
And then everything with Kyle and Lola.
That's what I was actually going to bring up. Yeah. Like, they want to move in together now.
Right after he was married, after he pretty much, like, screwed Summer over. And, yeah, like, I don't feel bad for her per se because she knew what she was getting into. Mm-hmm. But Kyle also broke a promise. And the promise was, if you're going to do this surgery, I'll stay married to you for a year. A month later, he's talking about not even, like, pretty much she got out of the hospital, and then he was texting Lola again.
Not okay. Here's the thing. If I was Lola, that would be a red flag to me.
Yeah.
Because you made a promise to another woman who put her body on the line for me.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you follow through with that promise?
Yeah.
And that's going to make me question, are you going to not follow through with promises that you make me?
Yeah.
And not to mention, he was in love with Summer.
Yeah.
So.
And they were kind of playing it that way too, even during the marriage. The way that he acted when he was with her, even if it was just an act, like there's probably, even if it was a tiny part of him, he admitted to Jack he felt connected to both of them.
Yeah.
And so Kyle he doesn't let things play out or handle his emotions. He just kind of jumps whatever's convenient for him and whatever he thinks he wants. And not to say that he doesn't love Lola, because I can see that he does. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like you don't just make that promise to somebody. There were other ways for him to do this.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like if this were the real world, Summer would be having a very traumatic time with this. Yeah. I'm actually surprised they're not showing a little bit more of her, like, health.
Yeah.
Post this situation.
He abandoned her, and we
completely
saw, and that's why I know a lot of people don't like Summer, and I get that, but what actually kind of like endeared her to me was the fact that we saw this very vulnerable side to her. Mm-hmm. And I know she can lie, but I felt like that was truthful, and like how she was after the surgery and the way she was with Kyle. She was very sweet to him.
She was, and it makes me really sad, and I would like to see more of that vulnerable side. I would actually really like to see how that breakup and the surgery affected her more.
Yeah, I agree.
It would have been nice. Like I said, it's like there's things like the Victoria situation and the Summer situation that I feel like Y&R just brushes over.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like, no, these are real life scenarios that as viewers we want to get to the bottom of. We want to see how it impacts these characters, because we're watching this
cathartic.
And it is, and we can relate to these characters. Yeah. You know, we've all been through a breakup, so we want to see this more.
Yeah, and while it might not be realistic that you would end up like
in the hospital,
it might not be realistic that he would go off and marry somebody to save Lola.
Yeah,
it's still realistic that people in general
have cheat, feelings and people cheat. Yeah,
and they make promises and they get married, and it might not just be a week or 2 weeks. It might not be like that, but some people might get married and then they don't follow through with their commitment to a person.
Yeah.
It's different circumstances and different specifics, but it happens, and I feel like people could relate more to Summer if they actually showed us her feelings.
Yes.
And not just like these passing moments of, okay, well, she's doing all these things, she's acting out. I get that too, but there's got to be another side to it that we're not seeing. Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So I'm just I think that, I mean, I know that it's soapier and it's more drama if they have Summer doing it this way, and Summer is kind of acting like Phyllis.
Oh yeah, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah.
And what do you think Summer is up to by... Do you think that her allegiance to Jabot is actually legitimate? Like, going in to Jack and turning her mother in?
Yeah. I think her job provides her, and Jack primarily, because Jack has been like a father figure to her.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Yeah. So I think Jack and the job really give her a stability that she hasn't really had from Phyllis or in life in general. So I think she does have an allegiance to him, and she knows that what her mom did was wrong.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for her to have told him.
And probably everything Phyllis did with the photographer and getting those pictures taken, deep down, Summer probably feels like her mother doesn't always have her back.
Yeah.
And so she's going with the person she knows and trusts.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, though, because I feel like, obviously, Summer trusting Phyllis is not a good idea, but I feel like Nick and Jack are two very stable people that she has. And so whether she decides to stay with Jabot or go to Dark Horse with Nick, I feel like she could really do well with either of them.
Yeah, and then you bring up her relationship with Nick, too. We saw that little scene where she was sitting on the couch and he came over and was, like, offering her ice cream, and she was, like, just sitting there really sad under the blanket. I thought that was so cute.
Yeah. And he's like, I can't tell you that it's going to get better, but I can offer ice cream.
That was, like, a real parental moment that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen that a lot with her and Phyllis.
No.
Right?
Phyllis makes me nervous. Just watching her. Like, I don't know. She's like, I mean, Summer's kind of that way too. Like, but I think I trust Summer more than I trust Phyllis.
Yeah.
At least I know Summer, like, I feel like she still is... She isn't like 100% Phyllis. I feel like she does get like things from her father too that make her a little more grounded. But like Phyllis, I'm like, yeah, she's a wild card. You just don't know what dangerous thing she's up to next.
Yeah.
This whole thing with getting the shell company and basically
stealing the logo.
Yeah, this is gonna. I don't know. I'm still wondering why it's gonna be the actresses switching. If it's gonna be like a face change, or if it's just gonna be one day,
I think they're just gonna bring her in.
Yeah.
Because those of us who have been watching Y&R for like years, we're already accustomed to her.
Yeah.
So she's my favorite Phyllis.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to feel like home when she comes back.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be great. So I think she's coming soon. I know that I believe filming has ended.
Filming has ended with the old Phyllis. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so we'll see new Phyllis soon. Okay, so we talked about Phyllis. We talked about Kyle and Lola. We talked about everything going on at Jabot. Let's talk about Mia and the baby, because we had actually some tender moments with Mia this week that made her look very less crazy.
I think they did that intentionally because they knew that she was, her contract, I guess, was up with the show, and they didn't want her to leave on a crazy note.
Yeah.
So she did seem a little bit more normal and stable than she has in the past.
Yeah. So we find out that it's Arturo's baby. And right before that, she has this really nice scene with Ray where they just admit to each other, it just ended. We don't have those feelings for each other. And it actually legitimately feels like Arturo and Mia have decided that they're going to go and be together, forward. Even if it wasn't his baby. Yeah. I liked that a lot because they're both leaving, as far as I understand.
Yeah, they're both off the show.
Yeah. Mia, the actress who plays Mia... Yeah, I knew she had been gone, like leaving, because a couple months back she had mentioned it, but
we didn't know that Raul was leaving too. So I guess now they're both gone.
Yeah, so it kind of makes sense they would leave together. And,
yeah,
and everyone like in the chat too, like we all seem to believe that Arturo and Mia belonged
together.
Yeah.
Off they go to Miami, and one less Rosales family member on Y&R.
Yeah. I kind of like going back to the Rosaleses, Ray and Sharon. I was going to comment when we were talking about Adam earlier, but I feel like now is another good place to kind of mention. Ray and Sharon, things are too easy for them right now. So I feel like the whole Adam thing has to happen, and that it's like a no-brainer for them to pair Sharon and Adam back together just to keep Ray and Sharon apart.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely going to happen. Also, on a side note, if you don't mind, last week we were talking about how Y&R never has any healthy relationships.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, and I was like, one healthy, stable relationship that's definitely stood the test of time. Guess who it is?
Who?
Lauren and Michael.
That is very true.
Those two are so cute together.
Yeah.
And they just, like, have stayed together.
I wonder if they had drama back in the day, though. I don't know. Like, I was not watching at that point.
Minimally.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they stayed together.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, you know what?
Just thought I'd bring that up.
Next week.
I know. Next week on Y&R, Michael cheats on Lauren. Oh, God. I'm giving the writers ideas. Wait.
No. Yeah.
Let us have our one healthy relationship, please, Y&R.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And I mean, arguably, okay, so like obviously Victor and Nikki have not always had a healthy relationship, but I feel like now they do.
They do. I mean, they do always
now,
come back to each other.
Yeah, and now, like, I feel like they're not going to break up again, at least this week. But no, I don't think, I feel like that they are committed to each other in a way that we're not going to see Nikki go off with Jack again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to, go ahead.
What about Paul and his relationship?
He's never really had a consistent relationship.
But I thought, I thought that he has been in one for a while now. No, okay.
They don't really show Paul's love life.
Yeah, well, they don't really show Paul anymore either.
Poor Paul.
Yeah, but I was just thinking about him, and I thought he was married and that he had been, but I'm going to have to, yeah, okay.
Him and Christine were together for a little while.
That's who I'm thinking of, Christine.
Christine also rarely has any segment. It's, like, always only when she's, like, an attorney going to court.
Yeah. Like during the JT investigation, she had some moments.
Bring Christine back. We like her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give her some more storyline.
She's a very powerful character too.
She is.
Yeah.
I like her.
Yeah. So before we get to our law moment, even though I feel like this is pretty much all of my law moment, but I want to mention it before we get there.
What?
Tracy and the novel. And by the way, she's writing a novel in case you haven't realized it yet.
She's a writer.
She is a writer. She has publishers. She is writing. Yes, she is. I will never forget. It could be 50 years since I ever watched the show again, and the one thing I will remember, Tracy is a writer, and she's probably still writing that book, or a book.
It's an exciting storyline, I'm not gonna lie.
It's different. I didn't expect it to go this way, but
it took a turn. It was like, what? Like, where are you going? What happened?
I will say this, though, from a writer's perspective. So what we're seeing is that Tracy is writing a version of Kane into her novel, and she's falling in love with him, and it's getting more and more obvious. Like, just whenever he's in the room, I think she's starting to realize it. From a writer's perspective, there is a deep connection, and I don't mean to be like Tracy. Yes, I am a writer.
Rachel is a writer, everyone, in case you didn't know.
From a writer's
shameless plug.
From a writer's perspective, there's a bond that you get from creating a character, especially when you're writing about somebody who actually exists. Even if you don't fall in love with them necessarily, there's an understanding that you have because you are writing as if you are inside their brain, especially when you're writing first person. And I know that Tracy's book is not first, but it's the idea that she is writing this guy and she is very invested in his life and how he's feeling and what he's going through. I'm wondering if it's really Kane that she has these feelings for, or the character. Yeah. Yeah, so that's something to think about for her part. Do you think they're going to get together?
I mean, I think it's really one-sided right now.
I think it is.
Kane has given us no notion as to his feelings towards Tracy. So, I mean, as far as we know, didn't he say that he looked at her like very, like a nurturing maternal figure?
Because she's got to be like significantly older than him. Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to assume her age, but
because didn't Jill come back, and when she came back to the scene, and she's like, "Well, why didn't you come to me when you were dealing with everything with Lily?" And he's like, "Well, Tracy was there for me."
Yeah.
So, like, in my mind, I'm thinking Kane looks at her like a mother figure.
Yeah.
So
that's how I feel too.
It would be a little awkward. Yeah. So right now it's completely one-sided. I do not foresee this coming to existence.
No. And if anything, I think it is actually going to be a storyline where it's a one-sided, unrequited love, which I like when they do that because it isn't done too often.
You're right.
And that is so realistic. That's
Yeah.
like the most realistic thing that could happen is that one person has feelings for someone who can never really share those feelings. And I think they have done it sometimes, but usually it's two people who are definitely attracted to each other. So yeah, let's have more of those moments where it is like this, where right now it seems like it's just Tracy, and it is kind of...
She reminds me of, like, an innocent schoolgirl. Like, every time he walks in the room, she's like, she gets all giddy. It's kind of cute.
How about... Yeah, well, okay. I was going to list something. I'm going to save it for the law moment.
Okay.
Before we get to our law moment, let me check in one more time with the chat and see what everybody's been saying. We have Michelle Rubo. I was happy poor Abby had a man, but once again, she got screwed. Poor Abby. Scott Holston. Oh, we're out of sync on that one, Michelle. I've never been a fan of Michael. Interesting. Matthew Kennedy. They're acting like me and Arturo are a super couple. ... Not. Oh, Todd Beaton. Paul Christine have been married for 6 years. So they are married. I thought that they
Paul
mentioned...
and Christine are married?
I thought they mentioned it. That's why... And 6 years, I mean, that's like an eternity on a soap. So we got to give them some credit. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I thought so, but I didn't want to be like that person, like, yes.
No.
Scott Holston. I don't have the hate for Kane that a lot of people do, so I'm liking Kane and Tracy's scenes. I mean, I do. I would want them together. It's just I don't think it's going to happen.
We just don't see it.
Yeah.
Not plausible.
And Matthew Kennedy said, do you like Tracy and Kane? I think we just answered that, but Michelle says no. Thank you, Michelle. The other perspective. Hubby Joe, initially Paul was a bad boy who had a romance with Nikki Newman. I remember that. I mean, from the preview, the reruns. Giving her an STD. The relationship ultimately ended, but the two have remained friends since. Michelle says she's the one who said no about Tracy and Kane. He's too young for her. Hubby Joe, after a year on the series, Belle gave... Oh, sorry, this is Joe's thought from before about Paul. Belle gave the character a proper backstory, Paul. This included his notoriously unstable sister, Patty Williams, played by Stacey.
Oh, yes, we remember Patty.
Alyssa Brown Carlton, I feel Kane and Tracy is more of a mother-son relationship. I thought so, too, until she started seeing Kane with his shirt off.
Awkward.
Yeah. Rady J, would love to see Patty back. Poor Jack. Michelle, Rubo says... I missed the crazy Patty. She was great. A lot of people are saying bring back Patty.
Crazy Patty was fun.
Scott Holston. Tracy is not old enough to be Kane's mom. Okay. I don't know her age. If anyone in the chat...
I wasn't saying that she's old enough to be his mom. I was saying that her relationship towards him was very maternal and nurturing.
Yeah. No, I agree with that too. I don't think she's that much older, but it just doesn't feel... right. Like, I'm not seeing the chemistry, but it could change. I think maybe I'm not seeing it because of Kane. You know what it is? I think that Tracy can do better than Kane. And I'm like, oh no. Because, like, Tracy's so pure.
She's very pure.
And Kane's, like, kind of a douche. So, not that he's always a douche, but I just don't see him being the right guy to her. Simone Francois, I love Patty Cake. She's right up there with Sheila Carter and Heather Weber in my heart. I love crazy characters. Alyssa Brown Carlton, if Tracy's daughter, Colleen, was alive, she would be near Kane's age. Really? I thought Colleen was younger, too. Because Colleen and JT, yeah, they were together. And I thought that the big thing with Lily and Kane is that Kane was so much older and that Neil gave the blessing, even though Kane was a lot older than Lily. And Lily was supposed to be, like... maybe around, like, I know, like, her, like, early 2000s was her, like, teen years.
Yeah. So, I think Lily and Colleen were around the same age.
I think so, too. And, like, JT and everyone. Hubby Joe says that Daniel Richard Goddard, playing Kane, he was born in 1971. Okay, Joe, we're waiting on a year for Tracy then.
Yes, please give us Tracy's
Joe.
age.
And while we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and get to our law moment really fast.
Yes. Okay, so
go ahead. What was your law moment?
So my law moment was on Monday's episode when Victoria and Billy came back from their camping trip, and they were talking to Nick and Nikki about the fact that they had to stop by their house first and take a shower because they happened to have dirt and mud everywhere. And I think the story just like went over Nick and Nikki's head. But clearly they were basically talking about like having sex in the wilderness. But Nick and Nikki just didn't get it. They were just like, okay, well, glad you guys took a shower. That's great. And on we go with the storyline.
Yeah, and mine was from that same scene. I have two.
Okay.
Same scene. So Victoria telling Nikki that her camping trip was earthy. That made me laugh. And then let's get back to Tracy. Tracy telling Laura that she is working on a book because she's working on a book, people. And then all she wants to talk about is her book. And then
Tracy.
And Laura said, if I didn't know any better, I'd think you're in love. And then Tracy awkwardly looking over at Kane, and then him being that scene, and then Kane later being naked. We have a year. So, Kane, Daniel Goddard, was born in 71. Tracy was born in 58. So, that's not that crazy. That's what, like 13 years? That's all it is. Yeah, because 60, 71, yeah. 13-year age difference. It can't be that crazy, so...
Hey, there's a lot of older men dating younger women, so Y&R, if you want to switch it up, I'm here
Go for it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Really quickly, let's do our predictions.
I think Adam is gonna know who shot him, so
Yeah.
we're gonna figure out who that is. What else?
Your AfterBuzz
I don't know.
TV predictions.
Victoria and Billy will eventually get married.
Yeah.
Phyllis and Summer, they're gonna get into a fight.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I think that Victor has ulterior motives, and we're going to find out what that is. Maybe not next week, but like in the months to come.
Yes.
I think that Adam is obviously has business that has not been resolved in Las Vegas. I think that a part of him remembers. I think that it's got to be somewhat of an act. I just don't know what level it is. I think that him and Sharon are going to hook up. I think that Ray is going to go back and end up as an investigator to, like, you know, because that's what he does best. He becomes a workaholic.
Yeah.
I think that those are the big things. I think Lola and Kyle and Summer, it's going to keep going on. I think that Kyle eventually is going to hook up with Summer again because it's not resolved.
Right.
That's kind of where I want to leave it right now.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, on that note, where can everybody find you, Farah?
Everyone can find me on Instagram at Farah_Naz_B.
Cool, thank you. And I am Rachel Goodman. You guys can find me on either Twitter at Rach Goodman or on Instagram at Rachel Radner Author. We also have a Facebook Restless Wrap page. If you go over to Facebook and just go to at Restless Wrap, like, follow. I always post the link to the show, and I'm very encouraging of discussion there so that I can read your conversations live on the air. Until next Sunday, have a wonderful week and happy 3-year anniversary, Restless Wrap.
Yay!
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.